Hey gang. So there's a few things that we didn't get to cover in the last session because I really want to ensure that most of your time is spent actively working on your presentations, on preparing them. And that's largely because I totally understand how difficult it is for you to carve that time because of who you all are. I don't necessarily get so much of the time issues with other groups that I work with, but being EC members, you're all much more proactive when it comes to your own time and developing your own businesses. So I'm sensitive to that. So I think the best use of our time while we're at the live sessions is for you to work on crafting the content and rehearsing it too, so that I can direct those little bits that are going to make the big difference. So there's just a few things. This will be super short that I wanted to cover with regards to being an expert, because as soon as you can position yourself as an expert in your industry, then you can A, charge more, B, you get more attention, and perhaps more importantly, which is the final piece of the puzzle, is you can leverage marketing and or attention because of you being an expert. So it all hinges around this expert bit. You know, you're not just another person delivering a piece of advice. You are considered an expert in that industry. And really the secret to positioning yourself as the expert is justification. You've got to justify that you are an expert. And that comes, I guess, more readily through demonstrating that live. So, for example, you've got to demonstrate knowledge. You have to impart knowledge in some way. You've got to teach your audience something they didn't know before, or challenge legitimately knowledge that they already have. So that's something that I want you to consider when you're crafting your presentation and when you're delivering it. What can you do to demonstrate you've got knowledge in a particular area? And it could be, of course, that you mention your experiences, you tell stories based on your experiences, you deliver new knowledge, or you talk about research you're involved in, or there are a myriad of ways to demonstrate that you've got knowledge on the subject that you're talking about. The other thing, of course, is assured confidence. And having assured confidence, it doesn't necessarily mean to say that you are confident. You don't have to worry if you're not that confident delivering it. It is more about having just an assured confidence. And it's to do with, of course, as we've spoken before, about what you wear, how you hold yourself. And we're working a lot in the live session in October on that. Physically what you do and how that changes how you feel, but also how it changes how other people look at you and view you as well. How you present yourself. We talked in September's live session about preparedness and making sure that you're prepared for everything to go wrong, and that you've got responses and solutions to all of that, because that's the difference between just asking any old body and having an expert come along too. And it's these things, this expert positioning, that will you'll get a very quick trajectory from you yourself needing to perhaps speak at small business groups or groups generally, but you'll get a very quick trajectory up to being invited to speak at larger conferences and perhaps exhibitions or at industry or business conferences, because people start to talk more. It only takes 4 or 5 regular tweets or people talking about how great you were or how interesting you were, that begins to pique other people's interest. Because when people are looking at speakers, and there are hundreds of thousands of people they could pick, some speaker agencies, for example, have literally hundreds, probably edging into thousands actually, of speakers you could choose from. So when they start Googling around, they're going to want to they will be more interested in the ones that are making more noise, and they're going to be wanting to look for those people that have third-party endorsement. So assured confidence is incredibly important. I'm going to show you some tricks in October as to how you can get that without feeling confident, but it comes really easily. This is what I was talking to you before back in August. about knowing your subject and being confident with what you're talking about, because nobody can take that confidence away from you. And we've seen everybody develop slightly in that area anyway. When you start talking about something you know and you love, it changes the way you present. Concentrate a little bit on detail, but be careful with it. Experts know detail. They know the ins and the outs. If you get questions on something, you get asked why. If they get pushed on a point, you'll have all the details you need to respond to that. But just be a bit careful that you don't spend too long on a particular detail. We can cover that in the live sessions, of course. And finally, reference specialist knowledge or experience. Incredibly important. You want to be in a position whereby you're seen to have all of those answers, and the reason you've got the answers is because you have access to assumed specialist knowledge or experience that nobody else has. And that's another way to position yourself as an expert when you speak, because if you can reference a particular industry expert, reference a lesser known survey, or even just a well-known survey, it doesn't matter. Try not to use the same statistic that everybody else is using. Use a different one from the same survey, for example, or your own experience or experiences in the industry. People like to hear that people have experience, and the only way to demonstrate that is to tell them. That's why I'll occasionally drop into, when I'm talking, references to working with my clients, or other clients I've worked with, or challenges they've had or problems they've had. That's why I've got case studies on my website, because it demonstrates that you've been there, you've done it, and you've solved it for somebody. So I just wanted to pepper those, a little sprinkling on whatever you've done so far. This next month, incredibly important, there is going to be no stopping. No stumbling and starting. Okay, so prepare yourself, because I want you to imagine that you are talking in front of a group of people. You've been paid or invited to be there, so there's going to be no excuses for stumbling on your words or forgetting something. If you do, you're going to have to work on the fly to work your way through it, because it's going to push you through that barrier of the comfort zone of never actually having a final script ready. I hope that makes sense, and you have a really, really great day. See you next month.